Good day everyone. Since malapit na ang bar exams, I'm going to share to you tips on how to answer law or bar examination questions. And today's discussion is especially intended for law students and bar examinees who want to improve the way they approach exam questions. Let me emphasize though that what I will share with you is not an original invention of mine. These are lessons and techniques I've learned from my former professors, combined with insights I've gained through my own experience as a teacher. Of course, I cannot guarantee that following these tips will automatically make you pass the bar, but I do hope that they will serve as a helpful guide, something you can apply, refine, and build upon as you prepare for your own success. Former Supreme Court Justice Herrera, who was once a bar committee chairperson, pointed out the general weakness of the bar examinees. She said the reason for this high mortality rate may be attributed to several factors, but the common denominator is the examinees' inadequate command of the English language. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Hindi nila ma-express ng malinaw sa English yung sagot nila. Tandaan nyo na ang bar questions ay nasa English at ang answers English din. Kumbaga kahit tama ang idea mo, kung hindi maayos ang pagkaka-explain, parang hindi rin na-gets ng examiner. Kaya mahalagang hindi lang aral sa law ang i-focus, kundi pati yung skill to communicate clearly in writing. Kaya simula ngayon, practice not just your legal knowledge but also your English writing skills. Kasi ito talaga ang first line of defense sa bar exam. Justice Herrera further emphasized, sabi niya, the examinees inhabiting the lowermost rungs of the grading scale manifested not just an appalling lack of knowledge of the fundamental principles involved in the examination questions, but also an inability to logically string their thoughts together, compounded by an almost incredible deficiency in language skills. So ano ang lesson dito? Para makapasa, kailangan mong pagsabayin ang tatlo: knowledge of the law, logical organization of thoughts, at clear expression in English. Ngayon, para mas makita natin in real life, tingnan natin itong mga actual bar exam questions at answers ng ilang examinees. Dito, makikita nyo mismo kung paano lumalabas sa sagot ng isang examinee yung tatlong problema. Walang mastery ng fundamental principles, ibig sabihin hindi pa solid ang pagkaintindi sa batas, kulang sa comprehension, meaning hindi masagot ng tama kasi hindi naiintindihan ang mismong tanong, at inadequate English skills. Kahit may idea, hindi maayos ang pagkaka-express. Kaya habang pinapakita ko sa inyo yung mga samples, isipin nyo ito. Kung ako kaya ang sumagot nito, paano ko siya i-improve? Kasi tandaan nyo, learning from others' mistakes is one of the best ways to prepare for the bar. This is question number 6 of the 1980 bar exam. Ang tanong, an accused was found guilty of double murder and was meted out 2 sentences of reclusion perpetua. How would the accused serve the sentences? Pansinin nyo agad, ito ay isang application question. Hindi lang siya about memorization. Ang tinitest dito ay kung alam nyo ang threefold rule sa revised penal code at kung marunong kayong i-apply sa specific facts. Ito yung actual sagot ng isang examinee. Sabi niya, both penalties must be served by the accused and he was electrocuted and died, then it washes out the remaining sentence to be served by the accused. Kitang-kita dito yung tatlong problema na sinabi ni Justice Herrera. Una, lack of knowledge of the law. Mali agad kasi ang sinabi niyang electrocution. Hindi naman penalty sa atin ang electrocution. Wala po sa batas yan. Ang tanong ay tungkol sa reclusion perpetua at threefold rule, pero ibang sagot ang binigay. Pangalawa, lack of comprehension. Hindi niya naintindihan ang tinatanong. Simple lang, paano isa-serve ang dalawang reclusion perpetua? Pero lumihis siya ng sagot at nag-invento pa ng electrocution. Pangatlo, deficiency in grammar and language. And he was electrocuted and died, then it washes out. Hindi maayos ang pagkakabuo ng sentence. Kung ikaw ang examiner, mahirap intindihin, kaya automatic mababa ang puntos o zero. Kahit may effort kang sumagot, kung mali ang principle, hindi klaro ang comprehension at sabog ang grammar, bagsak ang sagot. Kaya dapat lagi, alam mo ang batas, you understand the question, at kaya mong ma-express ng malinaw at tama. Here is my answer. Under the threefold rule, the maximum duration of the convict sentence shall be determined by multiplying by 3 the duration of the most severe penalty or by adding all of the penalties imposed, whichever is lower. but the maximum period of imprisonment shall not exceed 40 years. In the problem above, the two sentences of reclusion perpetua cannot be served simultaneously. For purposes of the threefold rule, reclusion perpetua has a duration of 30 years. 30 years multiplied by 3 is 90 years. On the other hand, 30 years plus 30 years is 60. The latter being lower, the same is supposed to be the duration of the convict's sentence. However, pursuant to Article 70 of the Revised Penal Code, the convict shall serve not 60 but only 40 years. Una, mapapansin nyo na malinaw ang structure ng sagot. Rule. Una kong ipinaliwanag ang general principle. Ito ang legal basis, kaya alam agad ng examiner na hindi ako nanghuhula. Second, application. In-apply ko sa facts. Dalawang reclusion perpetua, tig 30 years. Kung imumultiply mo by 3, 90 years. Kung i-add, 60 years. Mas mababa ang 60, so dapat iyon ang basihan. Dito pinakita kong I understand the question and I know how to compute. And third, conclusion. Malinaw ang sagot. However, pursuant to Article 70 of the Revised Penal Code, the convict shall serve not 60 but only 40 years. Nakita nyo? One clear sentence lang ang final answer. Hindi bitin, hindi sobra. Kaya ito dapat ang tandaan. Rule, application, conclusion. Ito ang tinatawag na RAC method. Kung masanay kayong sumagot ng ganito, magiging logical, organized at malinaw ang lahat ng sagot. Mapapansin din ninyo, simple lang ang English, hindi malalim, hindi nakakalito. Direct to the point, kasi at the end of the day, hindi kayo sinusubo kung gaano kayo kapoetic, kundi kung kaya niyong mag-explain ng batas ng malinaw at tama. Here is another bar exam question, question number 11, also of the 1980 bar exam. Patrolman Cruz, acting under the orders of the municipal mayor who wanted to put a stop to the frequent occurrence of robbery in Sitio Masukal, patrolled the place. At about midnight, seeing 3 persons acting suspiciously in front of an uninhabited house and entering the same, he arrested them without warrant and took them to the municipal building where they were detained in jail for about 5 hours before they were released. Patrolman Cruz was accused of arbitrary detention. If you were the judge, would you convict him of the crime charged? Paano ba natin ito dapat sagutin? Step 1, identify the legal issue. Step 2, state the rule. Step 3, apply the same to the facts. And step 4, conclusion. Kaya pansinin nyo, malinaw na RAC format ulit. Rule, application, conclusion. Ganyan ang diskarte sa bar exam. To the point, logical at nakabase sa batas. Ngayon, basahin natin itong actual answer ng isang examinee. Sabi niya, no, considering his possession as peace officer by the higher authority to patrol the place where robbery are frequent. The one responsible for this is the municipal mayor who ordered without warrant of arrest, and the act of the patrolman are in good faith believing to be a robbery entering a house. So the proper party liable is the municipal mayor. Tingnan natin kung bakit ito mali. Una, lack of knowledge of the law. Sabi ng examinee, hindi raw liable si patrolman kasi good faith at dahil utos ng mayor. That is not the point. The point here is to immediately identify what is the law being asked. And the law being asked is Article 124 of the Revised Penal Code, arbitrary detention, meaning detention without legal ground. Pangalawa, lack of comprehension. Hindi niya nasagot directly ang tanong, convict Patrolman Cruz or not? Instead, nilipat niya ang liability sa mayor na hindi naman tinatanong. Pangatlo, grammar and clarity. Mapapansin nyo, ang sinabi niya, his possession as peace officer by the higher authority. Hindi maintindihan. Halos sabog ang sentence construction. Kung ikaw ang examiner, mahirap sundan at mahirap bigyan ng puntos. Kaya reminder ulit, sa bar exam, kailangan malinaw at direct to the point ang sagot. Hindi pwedeng paikot-ikot, hindi rin pwedeng isisi sa iba. Sagutin mo ng direkta using the rule, application, conclusion format. Ngayon, ito naman ang aking answer. No, Patrolman Cruz is not guilty of arbitrary detention. Article 124 of the Revised Penal Code punishes a public officer who detains a person without legal ground. Under the circumstances, however, Patrolman Cruz was justified in arresting them without warrant since they entered an uninhabited house at midnight and in a place where frequent robberies had taken place. He had reasonable ground to believe that the three persons were about to commit a crime or a breach of the peace. Hence, I would not convict Patrolman Cruz of arbitrary detention because the detention of the three persons was with legal ground. Mapapansin ninyo, una, nagsimula agad sa direct answer. No, he is not guilty. Walang paligoy-ligoy. Pangalawa, may rule. Binanggit agad ang Article 124 of the Revised Penal Code. Ibig sabihin, may legal basis. Pangatlo, may application. Ipinaliwanag ko kung bakit justified ang warrantless arrest. Hindi simpleng good faith, kundi may concrete factual basis. An inhabited house, midnight, suspicious entry, and prior robberies in the area. Pang-apat, may malinaw na conclusion. I would not convict because the detention was with legal ground. Kaya ito dapat ang inyong i-practice. Sagot na RAC format, Rule, Application, Conclusion. Hindi kailangan mahaba, basta malinaw. Logical at nakaangkla sa batas. Kung ikukumpara ninyo sa sagot ng earlier examinee, kitang-kita ang difference. Isa, sabog at walang direction. Ito, concise at grounded in law. This is a sample of a criminal law exam question that I gave to my students. Bongbong, who had long desired Lenny to be his girlfriend, chanced upon the latter walking along a dark alley. Sensing that no one was around, he grabbed Lenny from behind, embraced her, fondled her breasts, pushed her to the ground, then placed himself on top of her. Lenny tried to push Bongbong away, but because Bongbong was too strong, she stopped resisting. She also did not shout for help. Bongbong then commanded Lenny to undress and remove her underwear. Seeing Lenny in all her naked glory, Bongbong then guided his erect penis towards her vagina. He was just starting to insert his penis inside her vagina when several people arrived. As a result, Bongbong discontinued his carnal advances and ran away. Question: what crime, if any, was committed? Explain. Basahin natin itong sagot ng isang estudyante. Act of lasciviousness. Bongbong, who have a carnal knowledge or desire which is malicious in nature, and have the intent to make intercourse with Lenny without her consent, which is harassment. And since the act didn't push through because of the passerbyers, then it is a frustrated rape, still should be penalized. Kita mo? Anong problema dito? Ang daming legal mistakes. Sabi niya, act of lasciviousness daw, mali. Hindi lang ito lascivious conduct, may overt acts already towards sexual intercourse. Sinabi pa niya frustrated rape. Wala pong frustrated rape under our jurisprudence. The Supreme Court is consistent that rape can only be attempted or consummated. Harassment. Walang ganitong independent crime in the RPC context. Hindi siya ang tamang legal term. Meron din siyang mga comprehension mistakes. Hindi niya naintindihan ang distinction ng attempted, frustrated at consummated felonies. Ang dami rin niyang grammar and language mistakes. Bongbong, who have a carnal knowledge or desire. Mali ang grammar. Dapat had the intent of having carnal knowledge. Sinabi pa niya, intent to make intercourse. Mali ang construction. Dapat intent to have sexual intercourse. Tapos sinabi pa niya, it is a frustrated rape. Very awkward. No need for the Article A. Passerbyers. Mali po ang spelling. Dapat passersby. Ano ang lesson dito? Ito ang example ng sagot na bagsak agad. Kulang sa legal knowledge, sabog ang reasoning, at mali-mali pa ang grammar. Kaya dapat maging maingat. Alamin ang tamang doctrine, intindihin ang facts, at i-express ng malinaw. My answer? Bongbong committed the crime of consummated rape. Under the Revised Penal Code, one of the ways by which rape can be committed is when a man shall have carnal knowledge of a woman through force, threat, or intimidation. In the instant case, Bongbong used force when he pushed Lenny to the ground and then placed himself on top of her. In fact, he was too strong that it became futile to resist. While it may be true that Lenny did not shout for help, the lack thereof is immaterial because to shout for help is not an element of rape. The crime is also in the consummated stage, since the mere entrance of the male organ into the labia of the pudendum or lips of the female organ is already sufficient to constitute rape. Now, under Article 266-A of the Revised Penal Code po, rape is committed when a man has carnal knowledge of a woman through force, threat, or intimidation. In this case, Bongbong clearly used force. Pinwersa niya si Lenny, tinulak niya sa lupa at saka pumwesto sa ibabaw niya. Kahit nag-resist si Lenny, hindi niya nakayanan dahil mas malakas si Bongbong. Now, May common misconception na kapag hindi sumigaw ang babae, hindi rape, pero mali yun. Hindi requirement sa batas ang pagsigaw o paghingi ng tulong. What matters is the presence of force, intimidation, or threat. Another important point, kapag pinag-uusapan natin ang consummation of rape, hindi kailangan ng total penetration or na mapunit ang hymen. The law says na the slightest penetration is enough. Kahit partial lang, basta pumasok ang male organ sa labia ng pudendum, consummated rape na ito. Kaya dito, kahit hindi nagtagal ang pangyayari, the act already amounted to consummated rape. So to summarize, Bongbong is liable for consummated rape, not frustrated rape, because all the elements required by law are already present. Let me emphasize, our goal here is not to ridicule or immortalize your mistakes. Hindi tayo nandito para pagtawanan ang mali. Instead, our aim is to remedy, correct, and supplement those deficiencies. Ang idea kasi, kapag na-point out na natin ang mali, pwede pa nating maitama habang maaga pa. Think of it this way, mas mabuti nang magkamali kayo sa classroom setting kasi dito safe pa. Walang judgment, walang permanent consequence. Pero kung dadalhin nyo ang parehong pagkakamali sa actual bar exams, doon masakit ang kapalit, bagsak. Hindi kayo magiging abogado. So ang gagawin natin ngayon, gagamitin natin ang mga maling sagot as learning tool. We correct them, we strengthen your reasoning, and we make sure na kapag na-encounter nyo ulit ang ganitong klaseng problem, you'll know exactly how to answer it properly. In short, hindi ito tungkol sa failure. It's about growth and preparation. Every mistake we correct today is one less mistake you will commit in the future. The examiner will be looking for specific things sa sagot ninyo. Hindi pwedeng bara-bara o basta may naisulat lang. Una, they will check kung may proper understanding ba and appreciation of the facts. Kailangan malinaw na alam ninyo kung alin sa mga facts ang mahalaga sa pagresolba ng problema. Hindi lahat ng nakasulat sa problem ay relevant. Minsan may mga panggulo lang. So your job is to filter. Alin ang material, alin ang hindi. Pangalawa, they want to see if you can appreciate the applicable laws. Hindi pwedeng puro kwento lang. Kailangan ma-identify ninyo kung anong batas o article ng Revised Penal Code o Civil Code or Special Law ang dapat i-apply. Pangatlo, you must show recognition of the issues posed. Ano ba talaga ang tanong? Ano ang pinapahanap ng examiner? If you miss the issue, kahit gaano pa kahaba ang sagot ninyo, palpak pa rin. Pang-apat, kailangan ninyong ipakita ang resolution of the issues through the application of the law to the facts. Hindi sapat na i-quote ang batas. Dapat i-apply ninyo yan directly sa facts na ibinigay. Ito yung pinaka-core ng sagot nyo. At panghuli, the examiner will look at your presentation and articulation. Ibig sabihin, paano ninyo ipinaliwanag ang sagot ninyo? Maayos ba ang daloy ng thought process ninyo? Gumamit ba kayo ng logical structure tulad ng RAC method? Rule, application, conclusion? Kasi kahit tama ang sagot, kung magulo ang presentation, mababawasan pa rin ang puntos. So remember, facts, laws, issues, application, and presentation. Kung makikita ng examiner ang 5 elements na yan sa sagot ninyo, mataas ang chance na makakuha kayo ng full credit. Take note, halos lahat ng bar questions na mahaharap ninyo, around 80 to 90% are in the form of case problems. Kaya kung may dapat kayong i-master sa bar exam, ito talaga. Ang challenge dito, hindi lang kung basta alam mo ang batas. Oo, importante na familiar mo ang provisions at jurisprudence. Pero tandaan, hindi yan sapat. Kailangan din marunong kang mag-apply ng batas sa facts na ibibigay ng examiner. So kung alam mo na ang law at marunong ka nang mag-apply sa facts, may isa pang natitirang problema. Paano mo i-present ang sagot mo in the correct manner? Diyan pumapasok ang importance ng structure or outline. Hindi pwedeng bara-bara ang sagot. Remember, bar exam is not only about what you know, but also how you articulate it. Kapag may ready outline ka ng sinusundan, mas mabilis kang makaka-answer at mas maliit ang chance na may ma-miss ka na important part. At sa dami ng questions sa bar exam, speed and organization are crucial. And here's the good news. With constant practice, magiging second nature na sa inyo ang paggamit ng outline. Kapag nasanay kayo, hindi na kayo matatakot sa case problems kahit gaano kahaba o kakomplikado. Instead, you'll see them as manageable kasi you know exactly how to dissect them step by step. Our first tip is something very practical, the KISS method, meaning keep it short and simple. Bakit? Kasi tandaan ninyo, ang bar examiner ay hindi parang judge na may oras basahin ang bawat pleadings in detail. Dito iba ang situation. Imagine this, may 12,000 digital bar booklets na kailangan nilang i-check at bawat subject may 20 questions on average. Kung hahatiin mo yan, lumalabas na ang examiner ay may 2 minuto lang per question. 2 minuto. Ibig sabihin, wala silang oras para basahin ang mahahaba at paligoy-ligoy na sagot. Kaya ang pinaka-effective strategy is to keep your answer concise but complete. Hindi rin pwedeng sobra-sobrang iksi na bitin at kulang sa elements. Pero hindi rin pwedeng parang essay na pang novel ang haba. Key idea? Sagutin mo agad ang tanong. Provide the legal basis, apply the law to the facts, then conclude. Direct to the point. Kumbaga, kung pwede namang sabihin in 3 sentences, huwag mo nang gawing 10. So always remember, in the bar, clarity plus brevity equals higher chance na ma-appreciate ng examiner ang sagot mo. For case or situational type problems, it helps to follow a clear structure so your answer is organized, logical, and easy for the examiner to read. A practical guide is the 4-paragraph rule. The first paragraph must be your direct answer. Begin with a positive, negative, or qualified response to the question. This shows the examiner that you understood the issue and you are decisive of your answer. The second paragraph must be the citation of law and jurisprudence. Identify and cite the applicable law, rule, or jurisprudence. This demonstrates legal knowledge and authority. The third paragraph must be your application or correlation. Apply the cited law or doctrine to the material facts of the case. This is where you reason out and connect theory to the given problem. And the fourth paragraph must be your conclusion. End with a short and definitive conclusion that ties together your analysis. Tip: by practicing this structure, you develop the discipline of answering in a clear, concise, and examiner-friendly manner, making it easier to earn points quickly. Question Fiscal: does the 4-paragraph rule contradict the KISS method? No. Hindi nagka-clash ang 4-paragraph rule at ang KISS method. Ang 4-paragraph rule ay tungkol sa structure ng sagot mo. Paano mo i-organize para madaling makita ng examiner ang sagot. Ang KISS method naman ay tungkol sa style ng sagot mo. Klaro, diretso at walang paligoy-ligoy. So, hindi ito tungkol sa haba ng sagot. Ang punto lang, maging organized at simple para examiner-friendly. Let's consider this simple question. X, a Filipino citizen residing in Manila, works as a manager in a multinational company doing business in the Philippines. Previously, he worked as a real estate agent in the US and was able to acquire a house and lot in Michigan, which at present is being leased by a relative of his wife at $1,000 a month. Is X liable to pay income tax for the income he derived from the lease of his property in the US? How does the 4-paragraph rule work? The first paragraph should say your categorical answer, whether it is a yes or a no, or your qualified answer when the question is vague or general. For example, ito ang sagot mo, yes, X is liable. Your first paragraph could be as short and simple as the above. The second paragraph should provide your legal basis, whether it is an applicable law or jurisprudence. For example, the National Internal Revenue Code provides that a resident citizen is liable to pay income tax for income derived from sources outside the Philippines. Your legal basis could be written in a one-liner paragraph like the above. You need not cite the exact chapter or section of the code, nor the title of the case or jurisprudence. Your third paragraph should be your synthesis. It is where you should apply the law to the given facts of the case. Examiners test not only your knowledge of the law, but also your ability to apply the law in various scenarios. For example, ito yung sagot mo sa third paragraph. Here, X is a Filipino residing in Manila and earning rental income for his house and lot in the US. The third paragraph is usually the longest among the fourth paragraphs as it interlocks the given set of facts with the applicable law, but it can also be a one-sentence paragraph depending on the question at hand. Now, the fourth paragraph is the so-called hence paragraph. It is where you conclude your answer. Usually, it is a repetition of the categorical answer, but with a few more details to end it strong. For example, hence, X, as a resident citizen earning rental income in the US, is liable for income tax. Your fourth paragraph should conclude and summarize your response to the bar exam question. Again, the four-paragraph rule does not equate to the length of the answer. In the examples given above, you will notice that every paragraph is composed of only one sentence each. Thus, your answer should look like this. Yes, X is liable. The National Internal Revenue Code provides that a resident citizen is liable to pay income tax for income derived from sources outside the Philippines. Here, X is a Filipino residing in Manila and earning rental income for his house and lot in the US. Hence, X as a resident citizen earning rental income in the US is liable for income tax. By following this rule, you are helping the examiner check your answers easier and faster. Since you have a systematic way of answering the questions, the examiner will know where to look for the answers, particularly your legal basis and your synthesis. Let's go now to tip number 3, logic and common sense. Kung hindi ka sigurado sa sagot, huwag basta-basta manghula. Gamitin mo ang logic at common sense. You ask yourself, ano ba ang pinakamakatwirang solusyon dito? O kaya kung ako ang examiner, paano ko gusto na masagot ang tanong na ito? Hindi ito blind guessing. Ang tawag dito ay smart guess. At ang pinakamagandang guide mo, isipin mo lagi kung ano ang pinaka-just at equitable. Kasi tandaan, lahat ng batas, in the end, hinahabol ang hustisya at katarungan. Fiscal, what if the question is lengthy? Huwag kang ma-intimidate. Kahit mahaba, usually isang issue lang ang tinatanong. Kaya ang technique, basahin mo muna ang last sentence ng problem. Doon kadalasan nakasaad kung ano talaga ang hinihingi ng examiner. After that, balikan mo na lang yung buong problem para makuha ang context at facts. This way, hindi ka maliligaw at hindi ka magsasayang ng oras sa mga detalyeng hindi naman kailangan. Example of a lengthy question. Luis Cruz was deeply hurt when his offer of love was rejected by his girlfriend Maribela one afternoon when he visited her. When he left her house, he walked as if he was sleepwalking, so much so that a teenager was able to grab his cell phone and flee without being chased by Luis. At the next LRT station, he boarded one of the coaches bound for Baclaran. While seated, he happened to read a newspaper left on the seat and noticed that the headlines were about the sinking of the super ferry while on its way to Cebu. He went over the list of missing passengers who were presumed dead and came across the name of his grandfather who had raised him from childhood after he was orphaned. He was shocked and his mind went blank for a few minutes, after which he ran amok and, using his balisong, started stabbing at the passengers who then scampered away, with 3 of them jumping out of the train and landing on the road below. All the 3 passengers died later of their injuries at the hospital. Question: is Luis liable for the death of the 3 passengers who jumped out of the moving train? State your reasons. Kung titingnan mo, mahaba talaga ang problem, parang nobela na. Pero kung gagamitin mo ang tip natin kanina, focus ka muna sa last sentence. So kahit mahaba ang kwento, isang issue lang talaga. Liability ni Luis for the deaths of the passengers. Yung ibang detalye, rejection ng girlfriend, pagka-snatch ng cellphone, headline sa ferry accident, background facts lang yan para ipakita ang estado ng isip niya. Kaya ang technique, extract the issue, then apply the law. Huwag ma-overwhelm sa haba. This is the suggested answer of the UP Law Center. Yes, under Article 4 of the Revised Penal Code, any person committing a felony shall incur criminal liability although the wrongful act done be different from that which he intended. In this case, the death of the 3 passengers was the direct, natural, and logical consequence of Luis's felonious act, which created an immediate sense of danger in the minds of said passengers who tried to avoid or escape from it by jumping out of the train. He is liable for their deaths because he was committing a felony when he started stabbing at the passengers, and such wrongful act was the proximate cause of the said passengers jumping out of the train. Kung mapapansin nyo, ang sagot ng UP Law Center ay hindi lang basta yes, liable siya. Number 1, may legal basis agad. Nagsimula sila by citing Article 4 of the Revised Penal Code. This shows to the examiner na hindi ito hula kundi anchored on the law. Number 2, in-apply ang facts sa batas. Pinakita na ang death ng 3 pasahero ay direct, natural, and logical consequence ng ginawa ni Luis. Number 3, ginamit ang proximate cause reasoning. Ipinaliwanag kung paano nauwi sa kamatayan ang act ni Luis kahit hindi niya intensyon na tumalon ang mga biktima. Ganito dapat ang gawing style sa exam. Paulit-ulit kong sinasabi ito, state the law, apply the law to the facts of the case, conclude clearly. Napakalinaw dito na sinusunod ng model answer ang IRAC method or RAC. Okay? Issue, liable ba siya? Rule, Article 4 of the RPC. Application, facts of the case. Conclusion, yes, liable. Tip number 4, watch your grammar. Lawyers are expected to have a good command of the English language, both in oral and written communication. Law students, therefore, must work on their grammar and composition. It's not too late to work on your basic grammar. With daily practice, you will be able to spot your grammar flaws and correct them just in time for the bar exam. As we close, I want to leave you with this powerful quotation. In many ways, law school and bar preparation are like these brick walls. They come in the form of difficult cases, long readings, tough recitations, and tricky questions. But these walls are not placed in front of us to keep us out. They exist to test how much we truly want to reach our goal. If the desire is weak, giving up becomes easy. But if the determination is strong, we will always find a way to break through, climb over, or go around those walls. So, as we move forward in this journey, let's remember challenges are not there to stop us, they are there to strengthen us and to prove how much we want to succeed. So, yan lang po ang gusto kong ibahagi and see you in my next video. Maraming salamat po.